Trevor Weller, known to the battle rap community as Real Deal, looked down at the intensive care hospital bed where his father, Charlie, lay unresponsive, his body ravaged by infection after what should have been a routine procedure. Trevor gently placed the king of the dot championship chain he had just won next to his dad on the tray table, the gold glinting under the harsh fluorescent lights. "This is for you, Dad," Trevor whispered, his voice cracking with emotion. "We're going to get justice for what they did to you, I promise." Charlie Weller had entered Mercy Hospital, part of the University of Pittsburgh Medical Center, UPMC system, on July 31st, 2019, for what doctors assured would be a minor surgery to tighten up a heart stent they had placed a few months earlier. The 70-year-old Vietnam veteran was in relatively good health other than some concerning spots detected on his lungs. But first, the doctors wanted to do a quick revision on the stent, even though they had x-rayed it just 2 weeks prior and determined it was not leaking. "It'll be routine," the surgeon told Trevor and his 2 older brothers. "We'll take him in on Monday, go in and shore things up, and have him out by Tuesday." The Weller men were so elated by the positive prognosis on the lung spots, which doctors said could be excised with no major issues, that they didn't question the stent procedure. Charlie himself had an upbeat attitude entering the hospital that fateful Monday morning, relieved that his recent health scares seemed manageable. He joked with Trevor about the awful hospital food he would have to endure for a night. But within 24 hours of the operation, Charlie was back in the hospital with severe diarrhea, unable to eat, and feeling extremely ill. Thus began a nightmarish 31-day odyssey of Charlie's deterioration, as Trevor and his brothers watched in disbelief and desperation. Doctor after doctor, specialist after specialist stood by as infection ravaged Charlie's body, his organs failing one by one. They pumped him full of antibiotics and opened him up again and again in a series of desperate procedures. But still, no one seemed to have answers. "What is happening to my dad?" Trevor demanded of anyone who would listen, his voice rising into frustration and anger with each passing day. "He walked in here on his own 2 feet, and now he can't even breathe without machines. Someone needs to tell me what the hell is going on." The doctor spoke to Trevor in cold, clinical terms he could barely understand, hiding behind medical jargon. They ordered test after test, but the blood cultures kept coming back negative for infection. As the days stretched into weeks, Charlie was moved to the ICU and placed on a ventilator. He developed agonizing bed sores as his muscles atrophied. Powerful sedatives rendered him unable to communicate. Trevor spoon-fed his father bites of yogurt and watched in disbelief as the man he once knew slipped away. Trevor's girlfriend, a nurse, confided to him that the situation seemed very wrong, that the doctors were not giving the family straight answers. She urged Trevor to start asking probing questions and demanding explanations. Feeling utterly lost, Trevor started documenting everything in a notebook. His father's vitals, the medications being administered, the names and contact information of the revolving door of doctors and specialists assigned to the case. He reached out to friends in the medical field for guidance, including an ICU nurse he knew. "Trev, your dad is the sickest person I've ever seen come through here," the nurse admitted to him in hushed tones when he visited Charlie's bedside one day. "He's got every red flag next to his name. Liver failure, kidney failure, uncontrolled infection. I've never seen anything like it. Something was done wrong, I'm sure of it. But you didn't hear it from me or I'll be blackballed." Trevor's suspicions that medical errors and negligence had caused his father's deterioration solidified into resolve. He retained a medical malpractice attorney and requested all of his father's hospital records, poring over the hundreds of pages late into the night after long days spent at Charlie's bedside. Nothing could have prepared him for the moment, after weeks of suffering and unanswered questions, that the doctors informed Trevor and his brothers that Charlie was not going to make it. They strongly hinted that it was time to let him go. "Your father developed an extremely rare form of C. diff infection, likely from the stent surgery," the doctor said, looking uneasy. "The antibiotics we were using are effective in 99% of cases, but not against this particular strain. By the time we caught it, the damage to his organs was catastrophic and irreversible. I'm so sorry." Devastated and shell-shocked, Trevor had to make the gut-wrenching decision to take his father off life support on September 1st. Charlie Weller passed away at the age of 70, having never regained consciousness in the final weeks of his life. The grief and anger crashed over Trevor in waves as he tried to process how a simple surgery could have robbed his father of his life in a matter of weeks. Determined to get answers, he launched himself into an investigation, firing off records requests, reaching out to lawyers, and tapping into a network of friends and associates for help making sense of the medical reports. What he uncovered pointed to a clear pattern of negligence, error, and malpractice on the part of his father's doctors in UPMC, Pittsburgh's largest and most powerful hospital system. The so-called revision of Charlie's stent had been completely unnecessary, as it was not leaking. But in the course of the surgical procedure, the doctors introduced a deadly bacterial infection that quickly spread out of control. Rather than identifying and aggressively treating the infection, Charlie's doctors wasted critical days pumping him full of the wrong antibiotics, allowing the bacteria to further colonize his body. They failed to order basic tests and cultures in a timely manner that could have caught the C. diff strain early. As Charlie's condition rapidly deteriorated and he went into multi-system organ failure, the doctors performed increasingly desperate and invasive procedures rather than focusing on the underlying infection. Then, when it was clear their interventions had failed, they obscured their mistakes behind medical jargon, and all but blamed Charlie for not responding to treatment. As Trevor compiled evidence of this staggering negligence and malpractice, he ran into a demoralizing brick wall. The statute of limitations for filing a medical malpractice suit in Pennsylvania was a mere 2 years from the date of the Negligent Act. The lawyers he reached out to refused to take the case, citing the complexity, expense, and short timeline, even though they agreed Trevor had compelling evidence. Dozens of firms turned him down before he finally found an attorney willing to represent him. But even then, the lawyer cautioned that a payout was far from guaranteed. At most, the case might be worth $70,000 due to Charlie's age and pre-existing conditions. The expense of hiring expert witnesses and investigators alone could be triple that. And UPMC had virtually unlimited resources to draw out legal proceedings and bury the Wellers in paperwork. Trevor seethed with rage and disillusionment. How could a human life, especially one as precious as his father's, be deemed to be worth so little? And how could the legal system be so stacked against the victims of malpractice? Determined that his father's death not be in vain, Trevor channeled his pain into advocacy. He began speaking out publicly about what had happened to his dad and calling for reforms to the medical malpractice system. He connected with other families who had experienced similar losses and realized that what happened to Charlie was far from an isolated incident. Medical errors were the third leading cause of death in the U.S. after heart disease and cancer. Trevor used his platform as a well-known figure in battle rap to raise awareness, rapping about his father's story in poignant music videos and calling out UPMC at events. He started selling t-shirts and wristbands emblazoned with "Justice for Charlie," with proceeds going towards advocacy efforts. He built a website to share information and resources for families battling malpractice suits. But perhaps most importantly, Trevor began lobbying lawmakers to change the draconian statute of limitations laws in Pennsylvania that denied so many victims a chance at justice. He contacted state senators and legislators, circulated petitions, and worked to raise awareness about the need for reform. My father dedicated his life to helping others, from serving his country in Vietnam to raising 4 children and being an active member of his community, Real Deal told the Institute. But when he needed help the most, when he placed his trust in the medical system we're told to believe in, they failed him in every way imaginable. They robbed him of his life and robbed us of a beloved father and grandfather. The law says a human life is only worth $70,000 in the state of Pennsylvania if you don't file a claim within 2 years. Well, I say that's wrong. I say Charlie Weller's life was worth a hell of a lot more than that. I won't rest until we get justice for Charlie, justice for all the victims of medical malpractice. We need accountability, we need reform, and we need it now. The road ahead would be long and daunting. Trevor knew he was going up against powerful interests and entrenched attitudes. The Catholic Church had lobbied for years to prevent changes to malpractice statutes, which also limited the timeline for victims of sexual abuse by priests to file claims. Insurance companies and hospital lobbyists argued that changing the laws would drive up costs and encourage frivolous lawsuits. But Trevor was determined not to back down, no matter how improbable the odds. He owed it to his father and to every family who had suffered a similar loss to keep fighting. In the 2 years since Charlie's death, Trevor has worked tirelessly to raise awareness and advocate for change. He started a petition to amend the statute of limitations in Pennsylvania, gathering over 8,000 signatures from across the battle rap community and beyond. He reached out to lawmakers and lobbied for face-to-face meetings, laying out his father's story and the compelling case for reform. Progress has been slow and frustrating at times. Elected officials express sympathy, but claim their hands are tied. That changing the law would be an uphill battle against special interests with deep pockets. The COVID-19 pandemic further complicated matters, making it difficult to get legislators' attention. But Trevor remains undeterred. He partnered with advocacy organizations and connected with other families seeking to change malpractice laws. He built a website, realdealraps.com, to share updates on the cause and organize supporters. And he used every opportunity, from battle rap events to media interviews, to speak out about the urgent need for accountability in the medical system. Most recently, Trevor released an album titled The Statute Volume 1, with lyrics that paid tribute to his father while eviscerating the injustices of the malpractice system. He partnered with battle rappers from around the country to create music videos and online content promoting the Justice for Charlie movement. Trevor knows that changing a law in Pennsylvania will not be easy. Similar efforts to extend the statute of limitations for victims of sexual abuse have been stymied for years by lobbying from the Catholic Church and other special interests. But he believes that with enough grassroots momentum, with the voices of patients and families united, the legislature will eventually be forced to act. To all the families out there who have experienced medical malpractice, who have lost loved ones to negligence and errors, I want you to know that you are not alone, Trevor said in a recent video posted to the Justice for Charlie website. I know the pain you are going through, the anger and helplessness you feel in the face of a system that seems rigged against us, but I need you to channel those emotions into action, to stand with me and demand change. Together, our voices are powerful. Together, we can rewrite the laws and ensure no family has to endure what mine did. The battle is far from over. Some days the obstacles seem insurmountable and the grief threatens to overwhelm. But Trevor knows he cannot afford to give up or give in to despair. For him, for his father, for every victim of malpractice, he will keep showing up, keep fighting, keep demanding justice. Instead of an ending, Trevor sees a beginning, the start of a movement that will outlive him and his singular story. A mission that, like his father's legacy, will endure. Justice for Charlie is coming. It's only a matter of time. Hey there, battle rap fans. Did you know that an incredible 93% of you watching right now aren't subscribed to the channel? That's a lot of content you might be missing out on. Tap in and subscribe so we can keep cooking. Each subscription is a vote for more quality content, more epic stories, and a stronger community. I'm your host, Battle Rap Algorithm, from the Algorithm Institute of Battle Rap. See you next week.
This the Algorithm Institute of Battle Rap. They say they videos the best and that they all of that. The Battle Rap Algorithm, yeah, I'm ballin' with them. Not like them other bloggers compromised by the system, no.
Justice for Charlie, we won't let it fade away. Fight for the truth, for justice we will pray.